Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 820, written by Starry-Mari, the Matrimonious glitch in the Matrix. I was laying in bed next to my boyfriend late in the evening. We were having a conversation and then he fell asleep. I'm a night owl, so I usually stay up for a while after he falls asleep. I started thinking of wedding dresses because my friend recently got married and I planned to marry this boyfriend of mine one day, so I was just kind of daydreaming about what my own dress might look like. My boyfriend wakes up out of nowhere. Boyfriend? What? Me? What? What did you say? I didn't say anything. You said something about a wedding dress? Sorry, I fell asleep. Our conversation we had before he fell asleep was completely unrelated. At no point in time did we discuss weddings. I thought about a wedding dress. I didn't say anything out loud. I told him this and we both thought it was creepy, but pretty cool at the same time. Case notes for file 820, the Matrimonious glitch in the Matrix. So I'm gonna say, I think the closer we are to someone, perhaps related to how much time we spend next to them, the more our souls, or brains and souls, can become entangled in sort of like a metaphysical Wi-Fi network, where we're able to actually communicate without speaking directly. Telepathically, I guess you could say. But I don't think it's magic. I think there is some sort of actual connection that we're just not able to fully detect yet. Case file number 821, written by SlyFoxInACave, Tourists from a Parallel Universe. I work in the industrial district of my city. It's one way in and one way out, so we call it the Island. There's a single convenience store. Last night I stopped by as I usually do after work. There were no cars there, but at least 20 or so tourists. I see this often, but I saw no bus this time. As I got my stuff and got in line, I began getting looks from all of them, like I was out of place. I just kept to myself and stood in line. A minute later, a couple ladies from the group came and stood in line, right next to me. Not slightly behind me by any means, directly next to me. The line moved forward. We moved forward. We got to the registers. We put our stuff down. I'm just flat out confused, but the cashier only rang me up for my stuff. As I left, a group of them were walking directly towards my car. At this point, I'm getting nervous. As I walk closer to my car, the group is almost intentionally walking to it too. Then, one guy stops about 2 feet from the driver door and just stands there. I shuffle between him to open my door, and the guy looks at me and asks me a question in a language I don't understand. I just silently got in my car and started it. I took one last glance over, and about 6 of them were all standing a few feet from my car in a line with blank stares. I drove off and felt like I was in a dream for most of the ride home. At first I thought it was a cultural thing inside the store where the bigger the group, the tighter the line or something, but the car experience still has me a little freaked out. Case notes for file 821. Tourists from a Parallel Universe. Right, so the only mundane explanation I can offer here is that maybe this was some sort of large-scale impromptu prank? Where in those areas, like mainly in cities, they have large groups of people that are organized and deliberately try to mind warp people, where they're all just in a cafe or out in the park, and they just freeze all together. You've seen that before? I've seen a few videos of that, it's pretty cool. However, if it's not related to that, then my guess is you were seeing people from another parallel universe and they were seeing you, but there was only the visual bleed through. No one was actually in each other's universes. You were just seeing each other, and obviously both confused, not quite fitting. This would explain why the cashier only checked you out and not the other 2 girls that were next to you. Although, the fact that they spoke a language you didn't understand, well, maybe it was just Chinese or something, I don't know. Or maybe it was a universe that was extremely different. Dealing with quantum immortality, we're always dealing with universes that are pretty much the same, minor differences, maybe moderate. Maybe Taco Bell is like Bell Taco now, or something like that. Nothing huge. And I like the idea of different universes out there that are completely different from what we know. That's very fascinating to me. I would love to visit them. Case file number 822, written by RRHN711. Time froze, but there was a voice. Hello everyone. First of all, I'm Brazilian and my main language is Portuguese. So while I've studied English for 12 years now, there might be some grammar mistakes. I was born in 2003, so I'm 19 now. I don't remember exactly when it happened, but it was certainly between 2007 and 2009 when I was 4 to 6 years old. There were days when I would ask questions about the world around me, which is natural for that age. The thing is, I recall at least 2 events in which I asked a question. I don't remember what the question was, but I'm almost certain one of them was about trees. And suddenly, everything around me stopped moving for a very short time, as if all time had stopped except for myself. While the time was paralyzed, someone would talk to me, answering the questions. I recall on both occasions the voice who answered me was a soft male voice. Anyone would be scared by that, but the voice was so friendly that hearing it made me feel at peace. After the voice answered my questions, and I didn't know about the answers it gave me, so there was no way I could have just imagined it, time would return to normal like nothing happened. Eventually, after it happened the second time, it never happened again. I eventually forgot about it, save for a single occasion that I remembered back in 2012 until 2019, when for some reason I remembered those events and never forgot again. Also, in 2019, around October-December, I was in my grandparents' room staring at the night sky when my eyes fixated on a cloud for no reason. It was no different from any other cloud, but it made me curious, so I kept staring at it. Suddenly, a blue sphere of light passed through that cloud at an impressive speed. I didn't manage to look too much at it, but I remember that besides the blue color, it had a bright white core. I'm not sure if this is related to the voice that I used to hear when I was a kid or not. Both my grandparents also had experiences with UFOs when they were younger. My late grandpa saw one as a child, and my grandma was still a baby at the time, but her mother and grandmother saw it, and then told her about it. Well, that's it. A lot of people have experiences with UFOs, but I was curious if anyone here experienced something like my first story. Case notes are file 822. Time froze, but there was a voice. So towards the end you mentioned this blue orb like UFO thing, maybe a spiritual orb, I'm not sure. Originally I was just thinking this was evidence of the simulation breaking down or some sort of intended pause. There was a voice. So it's almost like the server developers clicked pause for a second and then gave you the answer with their own microphone speaking into your mind. Kind of a neat idea, I think. However, now that you mention UFOs, it is conceivable that they were aliens speaking to you. Some way pausing your perception of time, not pausing time itself, and then speaking to you telepathically. There's many accounts of this happening, and especially one of the most notable aspects to this is everyone reports when they're being spoken to telepathically by aliens, at least these aliens, that they feel calm and serene, not at all terrified. Even though as described, you kinda get the impression that would be rather terrifying. Bonus file written by Master Test 6912. Spiritual Lingering. My mom would tell me the story that when I was a kid, I used to see a ghost in our house every now and then. She would say that I would start crying out of nowhere, scared to death. I would say, "She's back," and my mom asked, "What does she want?" I would say, "She's just visiting." Now I took the story with a grain of salt, but over the years I'm starting to piece it together. Now it could be that my mind is making memories to back up my thoughts, but who knows. My mom told me that I would say she is a very elderly black lady, one of those really old school flower blouses, you know, crap your grandma would wear. One of those cloth hats, not sure the name of. If you know the movie Friday, the outfit that the Jehovah's Witnesses were wearing is pretty much it exactly. All I remember now is seeing the back of her walking down the hallway away from my door. Now here is where it gets freaky. About 5 years ago, when my mom started dating her now ex-husband, years after the whole situation, my stepdad had a nightmare. A nightmare where that exact lady was standing on the end of the bed looking at him. My mom never told him about this lady. We have since moved from that house, so we haven't seen her since we were there. Asking my mom about the story, sounds like from what she said, she didn't have a hat. She had white dreadlocks. She had a hunchback and a cane. I would freeze my entire body and just point, shake, and make noises towards the hallway. I would say, "She's just passing through." It started when I was 4. About my stepdad's dream, she was standing right over his face, just staring at him, almost like she was trying to figure out who he was. Turns out we moved because he was so freaked out. He confirmed the hair and the hunchback in his dream. My mom would say she would always jump, like someone was behind her. I guess I told my mom she had funny hair, because I guess too young to know what dreads were. My mom even had a healer walk through the house, and she said that there was something there, but she had no ill intentions. She told my mom the next time she feels someone behind her, tell her to leave. After that, she said she didn't feel anything in the house, except she felt that something would watch her from the windows. Case notes for the bonus file. Spiritual lingering. Even if the entity, the spirit, isn't malicious, and you get that impression, well, you're still being watched. And even if it's someone nice, you don't really want to be watched. You're doing your business in the bathroom, you're all naked, you don't want some spiritual perv, perving on you, stuff like that. Or just minding your own business in your room. When you feel that presence watching you, is very disturbing, and I don't think there's any way around that.